quorum,
a quorum.
I'd like to go ahead and get started.
I'd like to go ahead and get
this Human Rights Commission meeting, Greenfield Human Rights Commission. Today is Monday, May 23rd, 2022. And this is a special meeting out of our normal sequence. We normally meet the second Monday of every month. As chair, I called this meeting in regard to a few pressing issues that you probably have seen if you brought up the agenda. And first, I would like to just do a roll call of present commissioners so that we can attest to having a quorum. Whit, as the clerk, would you please take care of that detail?
Yes. So as far as I can tell from the screen, we have the chair, Daniel, we have Carolyn, we have Wendy, we have Empress, and we have myself as the secretary. Did I miss anybody?
Okay, I anticipate that we may have a sixth commissioner, but we'll wait to see if she shows up. And at any rate, I just want to say thank you to all the folks in the community, residents of Greenfield and further afield for joining us tonight. We have a 3-item agenda. Because it is such a crowd, I would ask that if people do want to speak, that they please signal me in some way. If you are on video, then I can see a hand coming up. If not, please find another way. I'd also like to say that I know one person has texted me to let me know that she's recording the meeting. That's Dawn Morin, who is here. And I am also recording the meeting. Is there anyone else at this time who wishes to inform the chair that they are going to be recording this meeting? Okay. Thank you. And so I would like, because of the crowd, just to again say that speak up, please let me know. The first 2 items are really specific to the commissioners. And then the 3rd item, of course, is what most people are here for, to discuss the current and pending litigation concerning the city of Greenfield, the chief of police, and former officer Patrick Buchanan, and also Officer Todd Dodge. Before we get to that, and again, I just want to note that this is a voting situation. I want to introduce 2 motions to the commission. The first will be that since we no longer have our vice chair with us currently on the commission, I would like to make a motion that we have a vote for an interim vice chair to serve until we vote for new officers in July of this year, when my term expires, and we will have a revote at that time for new officers. In the meantime, to fill the slot that has been vacated as vice chair, I would like to nominate Wendy Goodman to that role, and I'm hoping that I have a second. And if any discussion is needed, we can discuss. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Whit. Thank you. So the motion has been seconded. Is there any discussion among the commissioners or questions about my nomination of Wendy Goodman as vice chair of the Greenfield Human Rights Commission? Wendy? Yes?
Just as interim vice chair.
Yes, thank you. I think I said that once, but I missed it on the rebound.
I just wanted to repeat it. Thank you.
Yes, yes. The length of that role will be until we vote in July for new officers. Any further inputs? Yes, Whit?
Yes, Whit.
You're muted, Whit.
You're muted.
Whit, you're still muted. Please use the speaker.
Sorry. I was asking people to mute themselves when they're not speaking because there's a lot of feedback coming back around. So everybody make sure you're muted if you're not speaking. Please and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so if there's no further discussion on the motion, which was seconded, I would ask that the members of the commission who are present, please, if you are in favor of this motion, please raise a hand. 2, 3, 4. Okay, I believe that passes unanimously. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
No,
Wendy?
I'm sorry, I
You
abstained.
abstain? I see. I thought I saw it.
thought I saw it.
Okay, so the
Okay,
final
so
vote,
the
thank you,
vote,
is 4 in
Thank you.
favor,
4 in favor.
1 abstention, and no one opposed. Okay, so the motion passes. The next motion I'd like to move to, and just for some context on this, we have struggled as a commission for at least 2 years now to fill the quota of 9 that is listed in the charter for the Greenfield Human Rights Commission. Given that it has been an ongoing struggle for various and sundry reasons, all of which are understandable, I am making a motion that we amend the number of commissioners from 9 to 7. Now, if we vote positive on this motion goes directly to the mayor for her approval or disapproval. But the reason I'm doing this is that we are perpetually looking for members and struggling to find much more than a quorum of people to serve. And I think that reducing this number to 7 gives us the opportunity to come closer to filling our quotient of voting members and making it easier to carry on business. So that's my motion, and I would entertain a second before we have discussion if any of the commissioners would wish to second.
I second it.
Okay. Thank you. I see Wendy Goodman seconding that motion. And now I'd like to open it to discussion, if there is any. Wid and then Wendy.
So by reducing the number to 7, that reduces the quorum to 4. Do I have that correct?
That, as I understand it, that's correct. Yes. Wendy?
I'm just wondering, and there might be somebody that's watching that can answer this as well. If we decide to go to 7 and things change in 5 years and we've got a robust community that wants to be involved, can we re-up it to 9? Do you know the answer to that?
My understanding, and I'm happy to be told I'm wrong, is that, again, a motion would need to be entertained and it would have to go back to the mayor. In the same way that we're reducing, if we decide at some later date to change that number again, it goes back to the mayor for her or his discussion and approval or disapproval.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion at this point on this motion? Wid, back to you.
Yeah, I'm just going to say I'm opposed to it. I just think it sends the wrong message. I know for us it'd be good. We worry about a quorum. We'll have guaranteed almost 4 people showing up for every meeting. But I just think, especially right now, it just sends the wrong message. We've been trying to recruit. We want to recruit. We have people. We have 33 people on this call right now. People listening, please. Apply to the mayor's office to join the HRC and be part of this. And so I'm going to vote no, just because it sends the wrong message.
Okay, thank you, Wid. Wendy, back to you.
So, given Wid's concern, what I would like to do is move to table this
Mhm.
until our June meeting and see who we have in the pipeline to come on board. And if we're still struggling to have people that want to join, especially given the tenor of the community now, then I would like to revisit this at our June meeting.
Okay. I'd like to remind people, just as a point of order, that we are going to have 2 more resignations coming forward, which will bring us to 6 as of the end of June. So, and remember that even though we have 6, a quorum would be 5 people, 5 commissioners out of the 9. So I just want to bear that because if we do not have a quorum, we can't hold a meeting. So that I understand the concerns, and we can table, we can vote, we can do as we wish, but that's important information. Back to you, Wendy.
Yeah, so I agree that it's problematic, to say the least. I also hear what Wid's saying. We have what's going on in town that the community is gathering around now, We have an environmental justice forum that's going to be on June 6th. So we have some opportunity to see if people are more aware of the work that we're doing and that we have space for more commissioners. And I don't think that waiting a month to change that, to change the number of commissioners we need is problematic. Unless we could do something like, if we don't have a quorum by the next meeting, to say that the default would be that we would diminish the number of commissioners. That either we table this until June,
Mm-hmm.
if for some reason we do not have either a meeting or two people in the pipeline to join the commission, then we default to going to a 7-person commission. I know that's a little complex, but
Point of order, just so we have this straightened out, we cannot make that decision as a commission. It has to go to the mayor. So I'm okay with tabling, given what people have said, and seeing if anyone here can be inspired and energized to consider joining us, given that we have a personnel deficit or we're entering into one. I'm okay with tabling it, but I realize that we're going to be on thin ice because not to be able to meet because of lack of a quorum is a severe deficit for our work. Wendy, I recognize you again.
yeah, I guess I'm still wondering if there's a way that we can table it with the default that if we do not have a quorum that can meet in June, that this goes forward to the mayor as a request to reduce the number of people on the forum, on the commission.
Okay.
And my concern is if we're down to 6 people and we end up not being able to have a quorum, we can't have a meeting in June. Perhaps we don't have a meeting in July. And so then we end up in this thing of we can't have a quorum because we don't have the people. And I wouldn't want to be in that catch-22 if it's possible to do that. So my motion would be to table this until our June meeting. And if the June meeting cannot happen due to a lack of a quorum, that we go forward to the mayor and request a 7-person commission.
Whit, I saw your hand. Thank you, Wendy.
Well, I'm just wondering if we're projecting. We had 2 members are going to resign at the end of June. So if those people commit to attending the June meeting, having a quorum in June should not be a problem. So I just think I just stick to my original guns. We're just, I have confidence that we'll have a quorum in June.
Okay, well, that's really what this is about for the immediate, in the hopes that we will be able to recruit. So, I'll take, Wendy, I'll take your suggestion as a friendly amendment. I think I can do that. And in that case, we can table this pending the June meeting and seeing what evolves for us in terms of possible new commissioners. So in that case, I'll just withdraw the motion. And we can look at it again next month if we have to. Okay, so please note with that the motion is withdrawn at this time. And now I'm going to go into the third and larger element of this meeting. And I think the reason that we have such attendance from the community, which is to say that I've asked for this meeting on a more urgent basis, so that we can hear the tone and tenor of the community and think and speak as a commission about any responses, reactions, statements that we may want to make about the situation that is currently pertaining in Greenfield relative to the legal issues and the litigation with the city of Greenfield, the commissioner of police, who is on paid leave of absence at the moment, and also Commissioner Dodge, who is on paid leave of absence at the moment, and former police officer Patrick Buchanan. I assume that people have some access and have read various documents pertaining to this trial, such as they've been made public. And I want to open it now to conversation and discussion. So I will recognize folks. You need not be on the commission to speak. But if any motions are made by the commission, we will pause to deal with those particular motions as they come forward. Is there anyone who would like to speak on this? And I would ask that you please keep your talk to 2 minutes per person, similar to what the city council did last week. Okay, I'll recognize Wendy Goodman.
Yeah, I just want to add to that, Daniel, and thank you so much that we really felt like it was important to have an opportunity to look and see, are there actions that people want to take? Are there actions that we can take as a commission to ensure that all voices are being heard, or to help? So your statement can be a request, it can be confusion, because I'm certainly very confused about who we are and what we're doing. So it's an open invitation just to have a conversation. I just wanted to reiterate that. And I just want to also say that we're talking about the chief of police and Lieutenant Todd Dodge, who was put on paid administrative leave. There was a question, and maybe some of this is also about generating questions, because there was a question that did come to me saying, has anybody asked why the chief was put on paid administrative leave? We know that Dodge was put on paid administrative leave because there's some confusion about whether his statements to the jury were true. But I don't know exactly what has been stated for why the chief of police is on administrative leave. Just a point, it's a question that came to me. I was like, huh. So if anybody has the answer to that, that would be interesting to hear.
Okay, thank you, Wendy. I think Carolyn, I'll recognize you next.
Thanks, Daniel. I just I wanted clarification, and perhaps everybody else who's on might need that same clarification as to what we as a Human Rights Commission, what is within our purview that can be done. So to the extent of this situation, is the most we can do issue some sort of a statement, or are there any other things that we have within our jurisdiction? I think it's a conversation we had way back when, as to what the commission can do and what it can't do. And I thought it would be good to remind us of that and remind everybody who's visiting with us today of that.
Thanks, Wendy. I speak not as being all knowledgeable and certainly not all powerful in this instance, but to remind folks that the Human Rights Commission is not an empowered decision-making body, or one that generally can do investigations, and we can make recommendations to other boards and commissions or the mayor. But we are not an actionable, decisive body. I also want to mention, just so we're aware, that I believe that this situation is still in pending litigation. I don't know that for a fact. So if anyone knows if an appeal has been made by the city of Greenfield about the verdict, that would be good to know. I've heard rumors that it was going to appeal, but I have not seen anything officially stating that there is an appeal. If there is, then it is still in litigation, and we should just be aware of that. So I just want to say that for the record. So I hope that responds at least in part to your question, Carolyn. Anyone else then? Thank you. Anyone else from the wider audience wanting to be recognized? I could see half of us, but not the other half. So please let me know if you want to speak, or Whit, if you can help cue me in.
Well, people could actually type into the chat too, and you can see it in the chat.
All right. Well, I see John Boss.
John Boss has his hand up, Daniel. John Boss.
Yes, thank you. I just called on him. John, please go ahead.
I recall can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I recall the first time they showed up in the recorder, I believe the mayor is quoted in saying they will appeal this.
Mm-hmm.
I can go look online for that while we're.
Thanks, John. That comment was made public. I just don't know if it has been formally appealed at this point. So if that's something you can find for us, it would be good to just know that. Because there's a difference, I think, legally between something that is about to be appealed and something that has been appealed. So anyone who has more information, please let us know. Anyone else wishing to speak? Becca, is that your hand? Becca, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, my question is a little broad. I guess I need to have a sense of what's the definition that this commission has of human rights, because the jury at the trial found that Buchanan had a right to the qualifications that he held that would qualify him for the promotion that he was denied. So I guess I'd like to hear from the commission members, what is your definition of a human right that you are here to defend and make sure that is happening in our town?
Thank you. Thank you, Becca. That seems like a pertinent question as we enter into this discussion. And I know that we worked earlier in this year to develop and refine our mission and our vision statements. And I'm chairing this meeting from New York, so I must say that I don't have all the information that I should with me, but I'm wondering, Whit, is that something you can access to read it into the record?
Well, it's posted online.
Right.
I can go back in the minutes and try to find it. It'll take me a few minutes.
Okay. Let's just say that Wendy, something there?
Yeah, and Beck, I really appreciate that clarity in that question. And I think one of the pieces around human rights is that it is amorphous, and we're trying to define it. One of the pieces in our mission is education and dissemination of information. And so the human right, if there was a human right other than my knowing that this has to do with human rights, just intrinsically in my being, the human right is that we're all treated equally, regardless of race, creed, color, religion, whatever. That seems to be a fundamental human right. And I think that whether or not we are looking to actually tie anything to that human right, my sense, at least, speaking personally, was this is a human rights issue, and so it falls to the commission to try to hold a forum that allows the community to speak out, in addition to the city council, and see, as part of the community, is there something else that we want to do? Is there a way that people are looking to promote something? I don't know what. It was, how do we hold a forum to help educate each other about what's going on and what we want to do, as opposed to standing our ground and saying, this is what you have to do. So that's what I'm thinking. So Carolyn, you have the mission statement. Why don't you read it, and why don't you put it in the chat?
I can
And
read it.
that's just what I can share.
This is in response to Rebecca King's question, so please go ahead.
So the mission statement, and this is on the City of Greenfield's website, the Greenfield Human Rights Commission believes that all citizens of the community have the right to be treated with dignity, respect, fairness, impartiality, and justice without regard to race, color, national origin, ancestry, gender, sexual orientation, age, religion, or disability. The Human Rights Commission will promote a positive sense of community and unity based on our similarities and differences, provide a forum for the promotion of dialogue, education, healing, and celebration of our diversity, investigate, mediate, respond, and report to the community on allegations of human rights violations, provide resources, direction, and counsel. The commission shall work toward enhancing the quality of life in Greenfield through promoting understanding, appreciation, and respect.
And I think that's going in the chat as well, Carolyn. Thank you. So if you need to refer back to that, it is or will be in the chat very shortly. Going from there, is there any further question or discussion of this particular issue that's in front of us. And again, we see this as an opportunity for the community to speak out and perhaps to direct us as a commission, given our limitations on making a statement or furthering this discussion.
Can I make a statement? I'm on my phone.
Can you identify your name, please?
Sure. My name is Molly Merritt. Sorry I had to join by phone. I'm actually on my way home from work. I just pulled over in my car. But I'm wondering if the Human Rights Commission could make a recommendation to fire Chief Haigh and Sergeant McCarthy, given that this racial discrimination lawsuit has been brought before a court, and Chief Haigh has been found guilty of racial discrimination, and then other facts that came to light in the case implicate Sergeant McCarthy in racist behavior as well. I would hope that the mayor would take it upon herself just to fire those two individuals outright. But we don't really have an indication that that's going to happen. I don't really know, if that's within the scope of what you all are considering, but it seems to me like the previous speaker had said, we had a employee of the town whose civil rights were violated by the fact that he was racially discriminated against. And it seems to me the least we can do is fire the public employees who committed that violation of his rights. I hope what I'm saying is making sense, and I wonder if other people on this call also would agree that that would be something that they would hope that the commission would recommend to the mayor.
Thank you. Thank you for entering that into the record. And again, this is an open discussion, and I don't know if John Boss, who spoke earlier, has found, or if anyone else has found, if this legal proceeding has actually entered into appeal or not, and that would be helpful to know. But we certainly can discuss that as a question. I don't know what wisdom others on the commission or folks in the community might want to share about that. I don't know about our legal vetting of that as a motion, but I still think it's probably worth discussion so we can all be educated to understand it more completely. So, Dr. Adele, would you please speak? I just saw her name come up.
Sorry, yes, here I am. Thank you.
Okay.
I apologize that my camera froze and I missed some of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But if you'll bear with me, I'd like to read a letter I wrote to the recorder today because
Okay.
it summarizes one way we may go. Who do you represent? Mayor Wingardner. A recent court decision found that racism operates in the Greenfield Police Department. Mayor Wingardner's response demonstrates that she neither listens to a diverse constituency nor collaborates with town officials and employees. First, she declared that racism does not exist and that she is considering appealing the verdict with taxpayers' money. She doesn't grasp that racism is pervasive in all American institutions. No matter how well-intentioned European Americans may be, change will never occur without that basic recognition. The court decision is an invitation, a mandate to scrutinize policy and make repair. Let the judgment be an opportunity for change, not to hunker down with blinders secured. Secondly, alleging that he lied under oath when Gardner put on leave the white police officer who testified in support of the African American officer who brought the case. And she confined him to his home during working hours.
Mhm.
Is she judge, prosecutor, and jury? I take heart in the number of citizens who joined in a witness outside town hall, as well as in the council members who are speaking out. In the civil rights movement of the 60s, a favorite freedom song was, "Which Side Are You On?" Mayor Wingarden, which side are you on?
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for that. That adds a lot of context and to our discussion. Appreciate that. Okay, John Boss?
I'd like to underscore what Dr. Smith says. For me, this brings home the fact that racism is so institutionalized, so part of the systemic thing. And here it is on little Greenfield in Blue, Massachusetts. I don't quite know how to come to grips with it, but I'm writing about it this coming Saturday. So I appreciate what Dr. Smith did.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Susan, I think you want to be recognized?
Yes.
You got that?
I first of all, I want to thank Dr. Smith Penman for the words that she put out, because she did it far better than I could. I think that we have to take as a community responsibility for the fact that someone in our payroll, as a taxpayer, as people who live here in our community, this is an official of our community, and we have to take as a community responsibility for the actions both of Chief Haigh and of Lieutenant McCarthy. And that means that this community has to take a stand on that, and that the mayor has to be informed of that. And I am hoping that as many institutions as possible will make that clear. So if this committee has within its purview the ability to be able to put that forward, I would ask you to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Is there anyone else who wishes to be recognized? Yes, Wendy?
Yes, Wendy?
I'm just, Susan, put, what I think I understand what you're saying, but I would love to hear it as a clear, what is it that you would like us to put forward?
Okay, my personal wish is for both Chief Haigh and for Lieutenant McCarthy to be let go. And without pensions or whatever kind of, I think these are serious issues, and I think they should be treated that way. I don't know if this committee feels its purview is to do that, but I do think that to be able to say that this town must take responsibility for its actions is something that the committee can do. And so that's up to you to figure out, because I don't totally understand, even having looked at your mission statement, I don't totally understand where it fits when we're talking about racism and racist issues being part of not the public at large, not something within the, but within the city itself, in the city structure. But I would ask you that this is something that we're all responsible for, and it's something that we therefore have to deal with as a community, and that is not something that can be passed over. And my concern right now is that the city is going to try to run this out. It's almost summer, there's lots of things to do, and that there will be an effort to sweep it under the rug and pretend that nothing happened. And that cannot be the case, in my opinion. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you, Susan. I want to recognize John McGee. John, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Give me one moment. I actually need to plug in my laptop.
Okay.
Or we'll be gone. Okay, so yeah, I have a number of thoughts of sort of like possible courses of action. You know, and really, of course, it's up to you as the Human Rights Commission to decide what's within your purview. But one thing is, I'm just noticing. I don't think the mayor is here. Am I right?
I don't believe
Yeah.
she is at this time. Yeah.
So, you know, pending litigation or not.
I believe, I'm sorry, excuse me, I believe her communications person is here, but you're right. The mayor herself is not here.
Yeah, so thank you for that. You know, pending litigation or not, this mayor has engaged with the public all of zero over this issue. She has accepted no responsibility for that, no responsibility for the actions of the people who are under her, who she's enabled. You know, we need answers from the mayor. We need a public process. We need her to be available for questions. All of that matters. I agree with everyone else who has said that we need to fire Chief Haigh and Lieutenant McCarthy. I will say that Lieutenant McCarthy has been accused of lots of things over time. It's been very hard to pin anything on him because people don't want to speak out about him. It's clear that he has intimidated a lot of people. So I think that ideally, we have some leadership in the police department and in this administration who find some way to engage with that ongoing problem. Another thing I would say is that, you know, we need, again, you know, obviously like pending litigation and all that stuff. I mean, the rumor that I've heard is actually that the mayor's legal team is seeking a mistrial. So trying to get the evidence of the Confederate flag incident thrown out and declare a mistrial. And that process has not played out yet. So the original case has not finished. So that's the nature of the pending part of it. The mayor has not provided any information, even to, from what I've gathered from court documents, even to Lieutenant Dodge himself about what exactly he's accused of. I think if it's in the record, if it's in the court records, and just like as it says in the court filings, according to due process, he deserves the ability to defend himself. So the shenanigans that this legal team of the cities have perpetrated, all of the inappropriate behavior that's documented in the court documents, is concerning to me. This also is being done in our name. And then I'll just say last, I mean, I think we have to acknowledge as a city that we're facing a combined problem here. That there is a racial justice issue and there is racism in the police department. I think that is endemic. Personally, my understanding is that's endemic to policing and the culture of policing. And I don't think we're going to get away from that, but we can attempt to address it as best we can. But it's not just racism; it's also cronyism, and the fact that Chief Haigh is a friend of Bill Martin. He's a friend of a number of people who are bigwigs at the Greenfield Country Club, and they are closing ranks and have long closed ranks to protect him. So the mayor is also in this group. And I think that we have to be able to name the fact that elites in this town do not want racial justice. They do not want justice, period. They want to protect their own. I don't know what the Human Rights Commission can do with that, but it would be great if there were something. And one last thing, and then I'll stop. Sorry, I'm running on kind of long. I think looking at what kind of resources we're putting into the police and law enforcement in this town, you know, the data that the Greenfield police department has released on its own, and which the Greenfield People's Budget has sort of tried to publicize, shows that very little of what they do is related to law enforcement. If you read the police logs, so much of it is really about people seeking help for addiction or seeking help for loved ones who have addictions. People seeking help for the fact that they don't feel safe in their home. But the majority, if domestic violence is the issue, if addiction is the issue, like those really require other kinds of responses and investing our resources smartly in other ways. The majority of domestic violence survivors never call the police. So for all of those survivors, we are not serving them at all if our primary response is police and law enforcement. So anyway, I'll leave it there. Sorry I went on so long.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. Before I recognize Elizabeth Quirk next, John, one item for information or clarification. Can you name the source that you heard from that the mayor is considering asking for a mistrial? I just think that if that's the case, it might be helpful for people to know what that source of information is.
I mean, it was a rumor, so I apologize for that. I mean, I've heard it sort of through the grapevine. But what I will say is that when I heard this, I was not surprised because the judge, they repeatedly tried to file for mistrial for this exact same reason throughout the case, for the reason of trying to throw out the evidence of the incident of McCarthy's Confederate flag as evidence. And each time the judge informed them the proper time to file for mistrial is directly after the verdict is rendered. So that would seem to be a pretty good predictor that this was their chosen course of action.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify, but thank you for that. There's a lot in what you said, but as long as people keep wanting to be recognized, we'll keep the discussion going. Elizabeth Quirk, I think you had the next piece.
Thank you, Daniel. Yes, I want to respond to John about the police responding to people asking for help with addictions and domestic violence and basically interpersonal sorts of things. I'm aware that CSO is working with the police. They actually have some kind of special relationship with them, that they actually bring in a counselor to handle a lot of these issues. And I do have the question of why, if they're bringing a counselor in to handle it, why the police are even actually involved, why it can't just go directly to a counselor rather than having a police intermediary. There may well be a reason. I know that domestic violence can get dangerous, but I also know that just having the cops there is often what makes things dangerous at that point. I really would like more information, and especially to your point, I'd like a lot more detail about the budget on exactly what everything's being spent on. If anybody is able to throw something a little bit more detail or link to more detailed budget into the chat, I'd really appreciate it, because I'd like to look at this in a lot more detail. I just feel really underinformed here. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I think the city council is obviously the body that's responsible for that, and I don't know if they've completed their deliberations for the 23 budget, but I know that there was significant discussion of.
They reduced that budget, Dan, by $425,000.
Okay, thank you, John. I know there were calls at the city council meeting to reduce it up to $1 million. But John is giving the information of what has been taken away at this point. So let me move on to Empress, another one of our commissioners. Empress Bennu.
Hello, good evening, everybody. I'm gonna try to keep it under 2 minutes.
Thank you.
But my grandmother used to have a saying, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. The whole issue with Lieutenant McCarthy and the Confederate flag and the situation with Officer Buchanan is racism. There's no way to hide it. There's no way to hide it. I read a story about the young African-American boy who lived next door to Lieutenant McCarthy. And he was traumatized when this man will open up his garage and this young boy seen the Confederate flag hanging in the garage. He did not hide his racism. He didn't hide it. He didn't care. He didn't care about the message that he was sending to this young man or to anybody else in the community, that he was a racist and that he hated people. Okay. So now if he didn't hide that, then why should we hide how we feel about it? We're not happy with it. It's not right and it's not okay. And it's about time that we as a community come together and stand up and say, we're not taking it anymore. You see, and this is why Greenfield has the reputation of being full of racists. If you go to Springfield, people see, if you say, oh, I'm from Greenfield, oh, they're racist out there. And it's not, and it's a stigma, it's a stereotype by how they feel when they come out to Greenfield. When they come to Greenfield, they don't want to drive their cars because they're like, oh, the cops are going to stop me. Oh, you know, I can't go to this restaurant, because white people's going to look at me like I'm not supposed to be there. That's not okay. And it needs to stop. It needs to stop now. It needs to stop today. And we as a committee, we as a community needs to come together and say, whoever we need to send a message to and say, we're not taking it anymore. The time has come for us to change, and the change is now. That racism, we don't want it in our city. We don't want it in our community, and it's not okay. Bottom line, there shouldn't be any kind of policy or procedures that needs to go that we have to go through, or any ropes that we have to go through. Bottom line is it was racially charged. Everybody knows it was racially charged, and anybody who defends it is basically defending racism. There's no middle ground. Either you're with it or you're against it. Bottom line. I said I was going to try to be very quiet during the meeting because I have my own opinion of it. But I mean, we all know what this is about. And as far as the mayor's statements, I also read what she said, and she also said she would have to go back and re-examine the facts. And I would definitely go on record and say that I would like her to go back and examine the facts before you take a side in something like this. Because you taking this side is you saying that racism is okay. And you're sending a very strong message to the people of Greenfield. You're sending a message to the people, because this is all over the news, Western Massachusetts and everything. So therefore, if Greenfield's mayor or if Greenfield's committees or Greenfield's business leaders are saying that this is okay, what message is this going to send about Greenfield? That we're full of racists. And that's not what we want. And that's not who we are. I look at everybody that we're the same. A lot of people that whether it's my white brothers and sisters, whether it's my black brothers and sisters, Latino brothers and sisters, we all want the same thing. So therefore, we need to come together and unify and say that this is a different culture of people. This is not the 30s or 20s or 30s anymore. That basically we want to work together and we want this change to happen. Bottom line, I don't see what the confusion is or what the problem is, but basically it's like it needs to stop. It was wrong and it's ugly. And right now, everybody here is here because of the fact, because we all know it's wrong. It's wrong, and like I said, the thing that hit home to me once again is that, because everybody has something that pulls their heart cords. And I think it was, like I said, once again, it was a story about the young boy that seen this hate, that seen racism and did not truly understand what racism for. That Confederate flag hung my ancestors on trees. Okay? That Confederate flag beat my ancestors. That Confederate flag raped my ancestors. So that's how I feel about it. Thank you. That's all I'm going to say.
Empress, I hope you got to see all the hands that applauded what you had to say that are still coming. And thank you for speaking so passionately. I want to recognize Susan and Wagaftik and then Kathy Cole. Susan?
I just would like to say that if anyone has not seen the court documents and would like to see them, I will be happy to provide them to them. We can email them to you. but the court documents are damning.
Yeah.
And if people have not seen them, and I'm hoping the mayor looks at them, because I don't know if she really has, but the court documents need to say it all. And I think that people should understand that this is not something of that's coming out of thin air. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Susan. Kathy Cole, if you're with us.
I am with you, but and in fact, I was trying to clap my hands to some of the most recent speakers, to Empress's comments. But I will say, I believe basically people are well-intentioned, certainly make mistakes. I'm wondering who has the ability to influence our mayor. She seems not to listen to many people, but I'm sure she does have a kitchen cabinet of some kind. And maybe people who've been in Greenfield far longer than I have know who might have sway with her. How do we get her to pay attention and understand the steps she needs to take? Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Excellent questions. Frank, did you raise a hand? I thought I saw your name come up on the screen.
Yes, hi, I did. My name is Frank Trapanese. I'm a transplant to Greenfield about 10 years. I don't know the chief. I don't know the officers that were involved with this case, but I do understand that a court of law found that there was racism, that there was, in fact, enough facts and evidence to find that they were racist against the other officer for his race. And I also feel like I'm in shock as a resident of Greenfield and a homeowner in Greenfield that they're going to silence a whistleblower for telling the truth or what he believes was the truth, and then not provide any sort of reason why, or tell the public or why they're going to say that he lied under oath. I mean, if he was under oath and he was telling the truth, how can you put him under house arrest? So for me, that's very shocking. And I just wanted to say that, to me, that just that doesn't send the message that that a court found that there was in fact racism. It just sends the message to me that the town is going to ignore that there is racism, and they're just going to do whatever to protect their friends. And I find that disgraceful. I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Frank, thank you so much. Appreciate that. If there are others who have yet to speak and would like to, please, this is an opportunity for everyone in the community. John Bottomley, go ahead.
I want to thank everyone for their for their comments. This is really emotional for me because this is being done in our name, and this is not who we are. And there's been a pattern of obfuscation, of not giving us information, and I'm a member of the city council. I didn't know this was happening. We asked for information, and we were not given any. We were told there were no transcripts for the trial. It was a community member that let us know we could find the court documents on masscourts.org. So it's definitely true that the city is trying to keep this quiet. They don't want this out. They don't want to talk to city councilors. They didn't even check with us to see if we could make the special meeting when they gave us their quote information. So I'm really, really angry. And I'm hearing the things that people are saying, and they are trying to keep it quiet. They're trying to protect their own, and we all know it. And how do we influence the mayor? She doesn't listen. The only way we can influence is by this commission, by people in our community speaking out. I don't know of any other way, but it's really horribly disturbing that our top leaders, our top paid leaders, the mayor and the chief of police, were found guilty of racism. This is horrific, and I want to thank the people here for speaking out. Thank you.
John, thank you. I also want to say there's other folks who will be recognized next. It's very important to us as a Human Rights Commission that there are several city councilors here so that we really can bridge the gaps and such. I think it's really incredibly important that we hear all these perspectives. I understand the load of emotion that comes up through this, and people can speak to that and how they feel, and we'll keep this going until people feel like they've had a chance to both speak their share and to be heard. So I want to recognize next the president of the City Council, Sheila Gilmore, and then John McGee, Kendra, and Becca King. So Sheila, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, for recognizing me. I want to say I have a couple things very quickly. I sent all of you folks an email, but I don't know how quickly you'll see it. If you need more members of the Human Rights Commission, I tried to post something on Facebook to let people know, because I don't think people understand that you have vacancies right now. So if there's someone I can put people in touch with, please let me know. I also would like to offer an invitation. We're going to be discussing this issue at committee chairs. Our next meeting is going to be on Tuesday, June 7th. And if we can work together, perhaps we could have a joint meeting where folks can come and talk about these issues. I would love for us to have more of a partnership instead of us just being different siloed parts of the city. But please feel free to reach out to me. I'll put my email address in the chat for folks. And thank you, John.
Sheila,
thank you, John
thank you so
Bottomley.
much. Yes, I appreciate that. And Sheila, I would like to be in touch with you directly as president of the City Council and chair of the Human Rights Commission to talk about how we can perhaps work more closely together, or closely together at all. Because I think that there's a huge confluence of issues between your work and ours. And I want folks to know, as far as the City Council, our charter is that we are all vetted by the mayor and then selected and elected by the City Council, but we all report directly to the mayor. And so we are kind of volunteers subject to, her oversight. And I just want people to be aware of that. Next up, I think, John McGee, did you want to follow up with something that you were saying or add to the conversation?
Yes, I apologize. I don't want to take up too much time. I will just say that I think that we should also, as a city and as a group of people who care about this issue that have come up, be thinking about and anticipating that there is a decent chance that a mistrial may be granted, and that an appeal may go through. I do personally believe, given like the amount of time I've spent with the court documents, the city still doesn't have a case. But what matters to me more is that whatever a jury decides, whatever legality, whatever court rule they might use to weasel out of this verdict, the reality is still there. And we have to be prepared to still, have a plan of how we still demand justice beyond, the legal rules. I do think that in the end, it may take more years, but even if it is forced to an appeal, I think Patrick Buchanan will still win. That's all I'll say.
Muted. You're muted,
I'm
Dave.
sorry, I was unmuted. I'm sorry. Kendra is next, and then Becca King and Karen Foliati. Kendra, go ahead.
Sorry, if that's me, I didn't actually intend to raise my hand. I think I intended to just clap. I would just echo the sentiments that others have already said much better than I could. Thank you. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Thank you. Thank you, Kendra. We'll move on to Becca King.
Yeah, I agree with the person who spoke about the silos. And one of the thoughts that I've been having and visioning is a full-page ad in the newspaper with all of our names on it, and as many names as we could get that would be people on the council, people in the community, people on the chairs group, everybody, anybody who's of interest, who's interested in this case, to sign a statement that would be published in the paper of our responsibility and support for the juried trial. That is the system that we have created in this country to bring people to justice. And that's what happened at that trial. So the fact that our tax money is being spent to perpetuate a lie and an effort to keep hidden personal racist ideology is an outrage to me. And I just feel like we need to have a major campaign, publicity campaign, that counters that effort and shames those people who are trying to advance it.
Thank you, Becca. Thank you. Next up is Karen Foliati. Karen? Karen, are you with us? Okay, we'll move on. Is there anyone else who wishes to be recognized? Anyone else? Yes. Okay, go
I
ahead.
see
Okay.
Emily Green.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes,
Yes, go ahead.
I like Becca's suggestion because I think we have to make this a lot more public for the majority of people. And on Wednesday, it's the second anniversary of George Floyd's murder. And we need, we are having a gathering from 4 to 7 on the Greenfield Common where names could be gathered for this public display of what we feel. I can only say what a good friend of mine, Gloria Matlock, has told me, and many others. There's not a Black person in this country who feels safe when they walk outside their door in the morning, and that's pathetic. And here we are in the state of Massachusetts, and we are playing the game and joining in with this racist society we have created. And I hope before I pass on that I'm going to see some real change. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you very much. Frank, I think you had a hand up. You with us, Frank?
I apologize.
It's okay.
Must have hit something. I'm sorry. I will, you know what? I will say something though. I do appreciate this group. This is the first time I'm observing your committee. But I would like to say something like human rights shouldn't be at the pleasure of the mayor. So just saying, if I would like to join something like this, but I really don't feel like you should be vetted by the mayor to join this sort of committee. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. I'd like to add to that. If this meeting and our work is inspiring others to consider joining, I would be happy to speak with folks as the chair about the process and the work and so on, or answer any questions, because we are engaged in deep work and we need people to speak, power, to speak their own power to power and come from their own strengths. So perhaps someone could put my email address up there. Those of you who know it, just so there's a reference, and I'm happy to take that role. People who are interested do have to be vetted by the mayor. She has the authority to do that, and then she passes names that she has chosen onto the city council. But I would like to be helpful in that regard as well. Are there any other hands up? Anyone who's not spoken to please enter into this, or if not, then anyone who would like to speak again.
I would like to speak. Hello?
Who's that?
I'm not showing up on here. Dorothy McIver, I'm here.
Oh, Dorothy, please go ahead. I see your name, but I
I
don't.
am
Yeah.
here, but I don't, I'm not showing up on the screen. I also agree about having a massive participatory letter, a full-page thing with comments from anybody that is willing to do this, 2 pages, whatever it takes. And also calling for the resignation of Haigh and McCarthy in whatever we're putting out, because I think that's very important. And denouncing what's happening with Dodge and being on house arrest. And also, I'd like to know where the source is about the fact that he's lying. I mean, where is that coming from? And has there anybody heard anything about the origin of that?
Anyone is welcome to speak to Dorothy's question. Thank you for raising it. What I'm aware is that the house arrest, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the house arrest for police officer Dodge was based on the fact that the mayor has said that he lied during his testimony, but there was nothing more specific about which parts of his testimony were considered lies. I'm welcome to, please correct me if I'm wrong, but that information has not yet come forward.
Okay.
So
I read all of the testimony, but it doesn't make sense that she's putting this out and that for no reason, nobody knows what she's talking about, and it's just happening. And, she should resign too. I mean, they all should go. But I think collectively we need to take a stand on this, and I agree.
okay, thank you. So let me go to Wendy and then to Karen, who's shown up again. Karen after Wendy.
Go ahead, Karen.
Okay. Karen Foliati, if you're with us somewhere, I saw you just come in.
Okay,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, I just got dropped, got frozen there for a while and then dropped off.
Welcome back.
So I think it's really awful that Officer Dodge is being treated the way he is without any opportunity, without even being found guilty. So I would hope that we could make the commission could make a recommendation that he be reinstated until he has a chance to defend himself if they're going to bring a case before him. I mean, he's even restricted to his home.
Yeah.
I understand. And he hasn't even had a chance to defend himself. So if that's possible, to put in a recommendation that he be reinstated until he has a chance to defend himself.
Thank you, Karen. I've also heard it suggested that the actions against him be expunged from his record as well, because that's something that he would carry with him that would make it very difficult for him to be employed in the future. Just saying that that's come up as a suggestion along with what you've just said, that his record be expunged. Wendy, are you ready to speak now?
So I want to start this off by saying that I was appalled when I saw the first blush of what had happened in the mayor's response. And as I've been watching this unfold, I'm very disheartened as I spoke at the city council. That said, it is my nature to also look for the other side. And my biggest concern is that apparently our leadership has a sense that the jury was wrong, that they were directed to go for a mistrial after the jury verdict came in. That's our legal system. My problem is that we're not getting that information. So I love the idea of having a public ad. And I think that what I would feel good about, I don't know enough about what's going on because folks are not forthcoming with the information to say we should fire this one, we should fire that one, we should demote this one. I don't know. But I do think that what is called for is for the mayor to engage with the populace, engage with the community, hear what people are saying, share the information that she has, and also to call for an independent investigation police forces all over the country are dealing with this issue. Where, we're not the only ones, and people are looking at how do we address this? How do we change our policing system? And that's what I'm most comfortable calling for at this point, is the information that is counter to what came out of our courts, which is our justice system. That's the only real information that we have. So if there is other information, I would call for the need to share that. This is not a private instance. This is our city. And before we start firing people, and I know people are against this, but I think we need to take a step back and say, let's further explore this. This was not a criminal case. This was a civil case. And again, I'm not saying I totally believe racism exists in our community. I wish it didn't, but I know that it does. And I think that the way to move forward so that everybody really gets it is to really get an independent investigation and work towards changing the culture and redefining what policing in Greenfield means. So if we could do something like that in calling for a 2-page ad saying we want transparency, we want communication, we want to know what's going on, and we want an independent investigation, I think that's a great idea. And I will say again, while I understand the call for the dismissal of these 2 people in our police force, maybe even our mayor, I do think that's premature given what I've heard from others about there's something else going on. So I just wanted to share that.
Wendy, thank you. Susan, I think you're on to speak again, and we'll allow a little bit more time, and then we have to sort through what our next steps will be. So Susan Wargaptic?
Yeah, thank you. Wendy, you're my friend and I love you dearly, but you know what? I've heard too many times there's something else going on. And for various things whenever this kind of issue comes up. In those court documents, we know that not only was Patrick Buchanan passed over twice for appointments that he definitely deserved. We also know that the chief allowed several times for police to go to the court as a representative of our city drunk. We know that they did not consider doing anything to a police officer who had killed someone driving 80 miles in a 30-mile-an-hour zone until the case became a criminal case. We know that that there are lists of things. So on that basis, this is malfeasance. This is not simply a case of, gee, he made a mistake. He didn't know what he was doing. Okay. And I cannot, in good conscience, say that I can't kind of make it nice for them anymore. This is, and that's, and I understand you don't want to do that, but I also understand that asking simply for more information, I think there has to be a total investigation of the department, but simply asking for more information is not enough to make this work. Thank you. Thank you.
Susan,
Just a
Wendy,
quick
do you wanna-
response, please.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Just what I would totally be behind until we hear the rest of what they think is defense is demoting these people out of leadership positions. And I would go for the demotion out of leadership positions before I would go for firing, before I hear where people seem to think that there is a defense. So I understand, Susan, and I don't need to fight with this. And I wouldn't have it be an open-ended piece, and I certainly would not keep Chief Haigh in his leadership position, but that to me doesn't mean firing.
Okay, thank you, Wendy, for the clarification. Ella Condon, and then Lois, and then Empress.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. Forgive me, my thoughts are kind of scattered right now. And I understand that this conversation is like kind of specifically around the court case that's happening / has already happened. But I also really want to bring up the fact that like our police department has a racism problem, and like the fact that multiple years in a row the police has done an internal investigation and has found that they target Black people and other people of color at a disproportionate rate to our general population repeatedly. Like, I think numbers off the top of my head, one year it was like 6.6% of arrests were African Americans, and they make up less than 2% of our population. And I really want us to also focus on that, on the fact that like policing is actively harming our community, and also is just racism is an integral part of policing, and that reforming police isn't going to exactly be the solution that we think it's going to be, and that we should be looking also at other forms of keeping our community safe, of building trust in one another in our community, that doesn't involve police. I'm going to stop it right there because that's the clearest part of my thoughts are right now.
Ella, thank you for speaking up. I think, we really respect folks who are joining us for the first time. Let me go on. Lois, did you have something you wanted to say, or were you simply giving your applause to someone else's statement? Lois? Okay. Empress, I think you were going to speak next.
Yes. I did say that in my last statement. That was it. But I I would definitely have to agree with Susan and Ella, because they made some good points. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. We cannot keep on making excuses and keep on saying, "Oh well, we don't want to do the extremes. We want to play these games," when they're not playing with us. Period. They're not playing no games with us. So it's like we have to put our foot down and say we're not playing this game with you anymore. And whether it's going to hurt somebody's feelings or anything like that, it doesn't even matter. We have to put our foot down and say it's not going to happen anymore. Now, mind you, this McCarthy fella, wasn't he an advocate to the Human Rights Council, the Human Rights Committee? What is that?
Yes, he was a liaison. That's correct.
Yeah, he was a police liaison to the committee that we're sitting on right now. So how can we defend that? That's like, if we don't say something, that's almost like we're defending that. This is human rights. We are defending human rights. He violated human rights. I don't understand why it's so hard for us just to like, okay, he's wrong. They're wrong. The chief was wrong because he was defending what was wrong. So we need to defend what is right. And it's funny because I was talking to a young lady about a month ago. And like I said, I'm gonna keep this short, Daniel. I'm sorry. I was talking to a young lady a month ago, and there was a raid in her apartment in Oak Court. And they was after her baby father. There was nothing wrong with her, but she was laying on the couch naked, and they had her stand up butt naked while all these police are swarming around her in her apartment. And the warrant was for the baby father, not for her. There needs to be somebody, and I think somebody else said it, some kind of counselor, somebody, an advocate there who could come there on behalf of the people instead of just having the police there. Because I took that personally, because I'm a woman, a lot of us here are women, and I cannot imagine how I would feel if the police came and kicked in my door and I'm laying on my couch naked, and then she's asking to go get her clothes or go get her towel, but they're telling her no. Is that okay? Is that what Greenfield Police Department is about? That's not right. That is not right, and it's not okay. That's it. I swear that's it this time.
Okay. Thank you, Empress. Last couple of folks to recognize, and then I want to be able to move forward. Thank you. Carolyn, I see your hand. Carolyn McDaniel, go ahead.
Yes, hi, and thank you. I've been listening to what everybody has to say, and certainly I'm appreciative of everybody being so thoughtful and so willing to share, and not getting particularly aggressive with one another. I really appreciate that. I think this has been a very good dialogue. I personally think that the trial was the opportunity for them it was decided at the trial. So if the trial is that they were found guilty of discriminatory action, then the consequence of that is that we should request the police chief's resignation. And I would say that as a member of the Human Rights Commission, I am just about as equally disturbed that somebody is sitting in house arrest, if that is true, that he's in house arrest when he hasn't, to my knowledge, been arrested for anything or been, accused, other than somehow this accusation that he was not telling the truth on the stand. I don't know that warrants house arrest, and that feels very much like a violation of human rights.
Thank you. Wendy, is that a hand up?
Yeah, I just want to clarify the house arrest. And I want to say, my heart is with all of this. And I know Pat Buchanan and I support him 100%. I know Todd Dodge and I support him 100%. So just for clarity. But this house arrest has been the term that comes up. Okay. What was said in the letter for clarity was that during his shift, he needed to be in his home so that if anybody wanted to get to him, they could. Okay. He's got a cell phone, he's got email, there were other ways. So it's not that he was really placed on house arrest, but the conditions of the letter of his suspension was that during the time of his shift, he needed to be available and in his home. Not that he could never leave his home, which would be what house arrest is. So I just wanted to clarify that. It's still not okay. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just clarifying what the issue was.
Okay, thank you. This is the last, thank you, Wendy. This will be the last call. I don't want to cut anyone off, but I'd like to be able to circle back with the council. But is there anyone, even if you've not yet spoken, this is an opportunity. If you have spoken, this is a last opportunity to get in on this discussion. This is not to say it will be the final one. Is there anyone else? I've kind of run out of raised hands and whatnots.
Hi. Hello?
Okay, Empress, Karen, I saw your hand.
Oh.
No? Okay, Empress, Did you speak one more?
I just put my mic on. It's Jimmy. I was just wondering, is there any, if Chief Haigh, he's got a disciplinary action right now, obviously. Is it as harsh as the other officer, the whistleblower? It was just a question. I haven't heard anything about his disciplinary action. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. My understanding is that the chief is on indefinite paid leave at this point. And I don't know much more about Officer Todd Dodge, and I don't believe he's on any kind of a leave of absence. He's, unless I'm wrong about that, my understanding is he is on house arrest during his shift only, as Wendy pointed out, but I don't think there's any other disciplinary action against him at this time.
No, he's on paid administrative leave.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the clarification. Obviously, there's a lot of moving parts here, and it's hard to hold them all sometimes.
I was kind of just asking, is Chief Haigh on house arrest too?
Not to my understanding. He's just on paid administrative leave.
That's what I was kind of asking. All right.
Okay. Suzanne Carlson, we haven't heard from you tonight. Do you want to speak?
Yes, thank you.
Suzanne,
I feel
please.
like I can't be silent just because I think this is such a crucial issue for the whole town. And I appreciate the suggestion for public advertisement in the paper stating what our demands are for supporting the human rights of the people who've been violated. And I'm just so upset with how this has gone on for a long time. And I was in the Human Rights Commission hearings when the issue of the Confederate flag came up, and I was mortified at that time. And I've never been back to I don't think I've ever been back to hearings, but this is so important. And the Human Rights Commission certainly has to have the power to do something, and and the people need to support you in doing something. So I just appreciate others who can put together a really powerful statement. It would be tough for me to do, but I think they could put down in the statements just demanding the respect of human rights and naming the violations by our mayor and by Chief Haigh, and whatever else they want to put in about the violations of our government officials. So yeah, I hope this moves forward, and it's very, very timely right now. And yeah, so thank you all.
Suzanne, thank you. We'll go to John Bottomley, and then I'd like to make a comment. So, John, please go ahead.
Thank you. This will be very quick. I was just wondering, this is a question for the commission. Did the mayor reach out to you? Did the mayor offer to provide any information at all? I mean, I'm assuming they knew this was going to happen. And I'm just wondering if anything was provided to your commission before this meeting.
Thanks, John. I can speak to that. And I don't think I'm belying any confidences in saying this. When I called, this is our second attempt as a Human Rights Commission to have this meeting that we're having tonight. We attempted to have the same meeting a week ago, but we failed to get a quorum of our own commissioners. And so after 3 minutes, I had to abort the meeting, basically. So that's one piece. But when I called for this meeting, the mayor called me directly, personally, and asked why we were having this meeting. And I'm just giving this as fact. It doesn't pay for me to opinionate. You can have your own opinions. But I stated that I felt the need for us to gather our people together and the community to have a frank and open discussion. And this is before the city council's meeting. Again, remember that this is a week ago, and the city council had its public comment, I think, on Tuesday or Wednesday of this past week, last week. So we are on thin ice here, I should say, in terms of taking any particular action. I'm not saying I disagree with taking action. I'm just saying that people have to understand that we report directly to the mayor, and there's a challenge in what we can do because we're subject to her hiring and her firing us as volunteers. So that's kind of where it is at this point. And I think we have to determine, having heard from all of you over the past hour and 20 minutes, what the thoughts are and the suggestions are, what we're actually going to do. And there may be repercussions. That doesn't necessarily mean we can't go forward at all. I just want people to understand that that's the situation at this point regarding the Charter and the Human Rights Commission in Greenfield. I hope that responds to the question.
Thank you.
Yeah. So last call. Is there anyone? Suzanne, do you have a hand up for a second comment, or is that from the last one? Okay. All right. Well, let me ask then of the commission, because I do want to thank everyone for speaking. As Carolyn said earlier, it helps to have honesty on the table and truth and such. Where do we want to go? And now I'm speaking specifically and transparently to the 5 of us on the commission, so that people can hear where we are leading on this, having heard the testimony over the last hour and 20 minutes. What shall we do as a Human Rights Commission? So I'm going to restrict this just to the commissioners at the moment, and you're welcome to listen in. And if a commissioner wants to go into executive session, you can make that as a motion. But if it's not made, then we're still being recorded and we're still live. Any commissioners want to speak to that? Carolyn and then Whit.
I would advocate for issuing a statement from the Human Rights Commission that we have serious concerns with respect to the police department and Chief Haig's ability to lead and his ability to lead a team that's diverse and treats people with equity, and that in lieu of that we would advocate for Chief Haigh to step down.
Okay. Thank you, Carolyn. Whit, I think you were next. And again, I'm just going to ask people to sit by if you can while we have this discussion. And you're welcome to leave if you need to. Whit?
Well, going into executive session would defeat the purpose of this meeting. So I would invite commissioners to be as open and transparent in public as we would be in private. I just think we have to stick to the point of the Human Rights Commission. Even if we send a letter with our mission statement, opening the letter and just address our concerns as it applies to our mission statement, and just keep it factual to what our concerns are as human rights, without getting into the weeds of specifics of individuals and what's going on. I think we can make our point in a calm way that might not ruffle too many feathers at City Hall.
Okay.
Point of order.
Wendy? Yeah, point of order, Wendy, go ahead.
I'm trying to do this Robert's Rules stuff right. I'm wondering if Carolyn's comment was a motion.
Carolyn, do you want to frame that as a motion?
Continuing the conversation.
I can frame it as a motion. So I motion that the Human Rights Commission drafts a statement that indicates where we believe Chief Haigh is no longer suitable to lead due to the violations of human rights that were as a result of the trial. Sorry, that's not even the best way to word it, but basically it's a statement that we believe that we do not have faith in Chief Haig's ability to lead.
I think you're suggesting a vote of no confidence, is that right?
Right.
Okay. So that's the motion on the table. At this point, there can be others. Does anyone want to second that on the commission? Wendy?
I'll second it. I'll second it.
So Wendy seconded.
And then we can have discussion.
Now we can have discussion on that again within the commission. Are there any further comments from any of the commissioners? Wendy and then Whit.
We'd go ahead first.
Whit.
I'm just trying to figure out where we want to go from here. And so if this, are we going to have 17 motions tonight, or are we just going to stay concise to 1 or 2 issues and go from there? Did the commissioners have a sense? Does anybody else have an idea for motions? is there any other direction that any of the commissioners want to go in, or, because I don't want to start discussing so many issues. I think we need to be concise and stick to 1 or 2 or 3 points and not get too overwhelmed with trying to make too many points.
Okay, we're trying to deliberate on the motion that was made and seconded. So we can take that, your comments in that light. Any other comments on the motion itself? Wendy, and then we'll bring it to a vote.
I like the idea of that. I think we need to draft something that we can all agree on, and because we don't have the draft, we can't necessarily agree on the publishing of the letter, but I like the idea of us making a statement. I like the idea of saying that we are concerned about and have lost faith in his in his capacity to lead the police force. And maybe one thing that we can talk about here is if we like the idea of making a statement as the Human Rights Commission, either we can have another meeting or we can do it somehow to talk about what would be those talking points that we would want to have. But I like the idea very much about making a statement, a clear statement, that this is a very concerning situation, that the courts have spoken, that we need more clear and transparent information, that we have lost confidence in the leadership and particularly in the Police Haig's ability to lead the police force. So I like that idea.
Okay, Wendy, I think you were extending the motion a little bit in what you just said, but I think you're agreeing with the motion basically as it was made. Is that correct? Am I reading that right? Right. Okay.
Yeah, well, the motion, the part of the motion that I agree with is for us to make a comment about our concern about this and what we've heard from the community. The particulars of what are in that and how we word that would come out in the drafting of such a thing. I also like Becca's idea of once we come up with it as a Human Rights Commission, getting community support of other people that might want to sign on. I don't know how we do that, but.
All right. Well, that would be a separate piece. I think we can look at that as well after this. Let me suggest, if I may, Carolyn, as a friendly amendment, and also bearing in mind what Wood said, if there are any other pieces that we might want to enter in to a statement that we would make, and I imagine that this is something that would not only appear in our minutes, but that, and certainly the minutes go to, the mayor and the archives. Are there any other statements that we can embed in such a statement so that it can be, as Wood said, not so diffuse that it becomes difficult to understand where we are? Are there any other statements to embed within that one that we would want to share? So I'm suggesting a friendly amendment, Carolyn, if you're willing.
I am willing to add that amendment, though I can't right now think of other things I would want to add in there.
Okay. Let me suggest, if I may, just the other things that I've heard discussed pursuant to this particular motion, which has to do with Police Officer Dodge being on house arrest. These are options for us to consider. Should he remain on house arrest? Should it remain on his record? Should he be able to work freely since he's not been charged of anything legally? Is there anything, even though Lieutenant McCarthy has not come up in this most recent court trial, is there anything that we would want to attach about him as well? Again, these are questions. I'm trying to aim toward one statement that can really speak to where we are as a commission.
I do. I'm sorry, Daniel. Yes, thank you. I appreciate those points that I think that it would be valid putting them in there. They're all, to me, human rights concerns. And also they ladder up to our lack of faith in Chief Haig's ability to lead his team. And others may be able to correct me. I don't know whether this is true. Would Chief Haigh have been there for the situation with McCarthy?
I believe he was serving at that time. Yes.
Okay, so then I think that also can be included in the statement, because I think it is showing a track record that would indicate that we do not have faith in his ability to lead in terms of keeping everybody's human rights at the forefront. So all of that is not said in the right way, but I think that your point is valid, that we should include those things in the statement. And I think all of those things actually ladder up to the same outcome.
Okay. Thank you, Carolyn. Wendy? Go ahead.
Yeah, so we're adding pieces? Is that where we are?
Well, my friendly amendment was to ask if we can open it up and have these other elements, such as they are, in one statement, rather than have disparate elements in different statements.
Oh, is that what we're talking about? It's different pieces that we would want in this statement?
I think
Yes?
so.
Okay.
We haven't voted, but
So-
I think we're still in discussion.
So what I would like to see in that would be something that talked about engaging with the community, hearing more of both sides of this story, because we only have the legal side. You know, there's a whole bunch of secret stuff going on. So a call for transparency from our leadership. Because is one piece, and I forgot the other piece. So I will get back to that when I remember it.
Okay. Whit, are you able to, as the clerk, are you able to carry this on in some way?
I'm trying to.
Yeah, I know.
So we have the basic motion that Carolyn made, and I've been listening to stuff that you talked about and what Wendy talked about, but now I feel that we're trying to branch out into what I warned us not to do, that we need to keep it specific to the human rights issue. Mm-hmm. The transparency stuff, the communication stuff, that's more generic stuff. So as a Human Rights Commission, what are our concerns about human rights? You know, is Dodge being violated? Have we lost trust in the chief's ability to lead in terms of human rights? Those sort of specific issues, and not the more generic stuff that doesn't really apply to what we need to do as an HRC.
Okay. Wendy, back to you.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. Part of me agrees with you, but and the other part feels like we can't know if, okay, devil's advocate. The argument coming is, okay, there is other information that we weren't allowed to bring out, and we're not telling you what it is, but all of that information that we have to bring out would put the jury's verdict aside, but we're not going to tell you what it is. So to me, that piece of asking for that transparency is so that we know whether or not human rights have been violated, because their argument is it hasn't been. Their argument is, no, there's other information, and that other information is what they're not sharing. So not that I'm not saying that I believe that the other information that they have would necessarily turn around and say, oh yeah, you're right. I mean, I can't imagine that, but I do feel compelled to say, well, I want to hear what you have to say. I want to hear what they have to say, and I haven't heard any of that, because I can't make any decision if there's a whole secret piece of information going out there that's being heralded as being hidden truth. So that's why I think it's part of it. It's not a general thing. It's like, I want to know why they think that it's okay to put Dodge away. I want to know what are the statements that they are concerned about, because that's what this is all based on, is the secret information that he lied, but based on nothing. So I understand what you're saying about not wanting to get in the weeds, but not wanting to get beyond what we're looking at. But I think that, hidden information means that we don't have justice. So I can let go of it, but that's why I think that having something that says, and we need open and honest communication about what is going on in this community, whether it be horror stories like a young woman in Oak Courts, or great stories like Pat Buchanan let a kid go and he's now an officer because he was talked to and he was taught instead of fined. So I think all those stories need to come out, but I think that we need the way this is going on. Is not a town I want to live in.
Okay, Whit and then Carolyn, and I'll have something to say.
I'm thinking some of that is the city council's responsibility. To getting more of the information, not so much our task right now. Someone has their mute, someone is open, so there's feedback going on. But that's kind of what I'm saying. That we just need to stay specific to the human rights issue. As someone said earlier, the document, we have all the information we need by here. We don't need any more information. We know that human rights have been violated just from the court testimony in the verdict found.
Carolyn, thank you, Whit. Carolyn?
Yeah, I agree with Wade. I do think that the transparency issue is a separate issue. And I think it probably is best handled at the city council level. And I think that this statement is a clear and concise statement about Chief Haigh and our summation of his ability to lead. And we don't believe that he has the ability to lead his team with a human rights focused leadership. And that is based on the court findings. That's based on the human rights violations of Todd Dodge at this point in time. And that's based on his previous allowance of McCarthy with the Confederate flag. So I think that we have the basis right there. We don't really need to go any further than that. And I agree with you, Wendy, that transparency as a citizen, transparency is hugely important, but I don't think that has to live in this document. And I think that the city council is probably the right group to hold the city accountable for that.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you. I hope that what I'm hearing at this point, if I may speak, is that whatever statement we make, wherever that goes, it has to be based on the known facts at this time. And those known facts are in the transcript of the court documents and the verdict, the findings, and so on. And so the facts themselves have introduced themselves as acts where racism has been directly involved. And that's where we get involved, because that's a violation of human rights, plain and simple. It does not raise the issue directly of Sergeant McCarthy. That's something that this trial has not brought forward, except as ancillary information pertaining to the chief. He has not been charged directly at this time. So I would feel comfortable personally with comments and statements focused on our lack of confidence in Chief Haigh and his ability to lead, and also the quote freeing, we'll find the right wording for it, for Police Officer Dodge having his house arrest taken away and having his record expunged from that detail, and his being able to resume the force, actively immediately. So to me, those are the salient features that have come forward. I see hands. Whit and then Wendy. Mm-hmm.
Well, we could also express our displeasure or our disappointment in the mayor's original statement, because that came out in a direct violation of human rights from our perspective, that she should have not said anything in defense of the chief and should have just, let it play out. That her statement really inflamed the issue in the community because she seemed to be defending the chief. And as a result of that, defending racism in an abstract way with her statement. So I would feel okay with adding our displeasure about the mayor's original statement.
Okay. Wendy, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, thank you, Daniel, because I really like the way that you said it was given the facts that we know
Mhm.
as given to us by the court, the only facts that we have that we can go for, and having that be the statement, that feels perfect to me. But I would want that caveat, given the facts as we know them through our justice system, this is not acceptable. And that covers my desire for saying you need to be more transparent.
Okay.
And I just want to say, I guess, that my orientation is that I don't ever, and I don't ever want to make a decision if I know that if there's other information out there that I'm not getting. I want that information when I take a stand on something. So that's where my orientation is coming from. How do we get that other information? I'm not saying I buy it, but this comment that says the facts as we have them and trusting our justice system to give us the accurate facts, this is not acceptable.
Mhm.
I'm all in.
Okay. Empress, do you have anything you'd like to say as the other commissioner present?
Yes, I just wanted, so what exactly, for clarification, is our next move?
Okay. I'd like to ask Wid to read it back, but we're talking about making a statement coming out of the minutes of this meeting that the Human Rights Commission, well, I'm going to ask Wid if you can, there's been a lot of words shared and I'm not writing them down. But Wid, I hope you're tracking it in some way.
The original motion from Carolyn was the HRC draft a statement that we believe that Chief Haigh is no longer suitable to serve due to his violation of human rights. Wendy seconded it. And then Daniel, you made a friendly amendment to add various associated statements that we could add. And we talked about the lack of confidence in the chief, the treatment of Lieutenant Dodge, and then I mentioned the mayor's original statement. So those are the kind of 4 bullets that we were discussing. Does anybody else have anything else they want to add?
Okay, so the reason why I was asking, because I know that there was a lot of information put out there. So I just want to be clear as far. So do we know when we're going to make this statement? Or is there a proposed date and time? Is it going to be after we bring it to our next meeting and go through the formalities of it? Or is this something, Daniel, that that you're gonna put together, orchestrate, and we as a commissioners just sign on to it and send it over? I'm not sure exactly.
Right. It's a good question about just the way we're going to do this. I would propose, if we are in agreement with this, we'll continue to wordsmith it a bit, that beyond it just appearing in the minutes, that we be as transparent as possible. I'll put my role as the chair on the line here and send a letter to the mayor indicating our points from this discussion. I would expect to be fired on the basis of that, but maybe not. But regardless of that, I think that that's the direction that the community is asking us to move in, at least as far as this part, and that we all agree to sign it so that we can show a quorum. If anyone is in disagreement, we don't have a quorum, and that doesn't have a lot of energy. For less than a quorum, we can't really approve a motion or a statement. Wendy, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I think we need to figure out the implementation of it, but we haven't decided whether or not this is something that we want to do. So I'm wondering if we can kind of go to, okay, there was a motion for us to make a statement. Can we say yes or no to how to do that? And then move on to, okay, what does that statement look like? What would we do? And how are we going to do it? But we haven't even decided as a commission that we're going to make the statement. So I think we need to have that vote. And then we can look at how we're going to implement this idea.
Thanks, Wendy. I think that this was all discussion leading up to the vote, so that we know what we're voting for. And then if we approve the motion, I think we can then enter into a finer discussion about the minutia of that motion, of the statement. So right now we're voting whether or not we want to make a statement that includes the things we've discussed. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
and I'm only saying that, Daniel, because I'm ready to then talk about the implementation when we still haven't talked about that we're going to make the statement.
Well, I call for a vote on the motion.
Okay, so can we move on the motion then, Wendy? Are you okay with that? And then work on the specifics of it? So we know something's going forward? Okay, then we have 5 members right here. We will need the full number of us to sustain the motion. So all in favor of our doing this and putting a statement together, please raise your hands. Okay, the idea of making a statement passes unanimously with a 5. So we have a quorum and a majority. And now I think we can enter into what Wendy, what you called would be the implementation of this. So go ahead, I recognize you. Wendy?
Whoops. Ooh, sorry. I love your idea of submitting a letter to the mayor, and that's very generous of you. I also would like to see it sent to the recorder. I don't think this is just something that I want to see sent to the mayor and then it doesn't get out. I think we need to send it to the recorder. Maybe, see how we get that out as opposed to just to her. Maybe to the city council as well. That this is the stand of the Human Rights Commission.
If I can just ask as a point of order for you, Wendy, would it be the same statement going to these different bodies? Yeah, okay, so we're looking at one unified statement that would go to the mayor, to the city council, and to the Greenfield recorder. Are we all in agreement on that?
Yeah, address it to the mayor with copy 2s in the bottom so she knows as going out to the other places. So it's to the mayor with copy 2s in the bottom, to the recorder, to the city council, so she knows what's going on. And Daniel, if you get fired, I'll resign with you, so don't worry about that.
As will I.
That's part of doing the work, and I appreciate the statement of support. I'm not saying that as a scare tactic. I just think it's very realistic.
Well, we have to make a stand, and if otherwise, what are we doing? If the human rights can't stand up for human rights, if we're afraid that we're going to torque off people, then we shouldn't be here to begin with. So we have to do what's right.
Okay, I'm getting some folks who have raised hands from the general folks. Let us finish this, and then we can have a discussion. Okay, because I think we are making progress given the magnitude of what we're discussing. Wendy, go ahead. Wendy?
Thanks. So the next piece is, so if we've got an idea of how we're going to do it, how are we going to get the draft together? Who's going to pick it up to write a first draft and what? Talk to me.
Well, as usual, I'll type up the minutes as fast as I can and get them to the entire commission and with Daniel. And I think the minutes will have enough information in there where we can glean out the points we want to make. I think to sit here now and try to remember what was said by who, when, where, how is just too much. But if we have the minutes typed up and in front of us, and I nominate Daniel to take the first stab at a first draft, and then he could share it with the commission, and then we could go from there. We can't wait till the next meeting. We need to get this out within days, because to show to the community that we're serious and we're with them and we're doing something. If we get caught in the minutia of, okay, let's have another meeting and let's vote on this, it just gets lost. So if we get the letter drafted and approved by the commission by Thursday or Friday, that would be saying something.
I'd just like to say something about, our belief within this commission, our belief and our trust in one another is paramount. And it hasn't always been that way, as many of us know. So if we go with this and people are trusting that I can glean from WID's minutes a letter that I can get back to people as soon as hopefully by the end of the day tomorrow, then we can make this move pretty quickly. I think I will call for a caucus of the 5 of us so that we can vote to do this, unless you want to just extend that to Whit and I to wordsmith this the right way. We can go either way, but I don't want to finalize this without either the implicit trust that you have in me as chair and Whit as clerk to do this. So if you want to grant that to us now as a commission, we'll take it and we'll run with it. If you want to see it before we make a vote, we can have it that way as well. So I think we just need to know which way we can go. I'm happy doing either, but I don't want to assume anything. Carolyn?
I have my faith in the two of you. Though I don't want to pass the buck. So certainly if you need to lean on anybody for, another set of eyes, that's fine. I don't want to slow down the progress, and I have complete faith in the two of you.
Okay, thank you, Carolyn. I appreciate the vote of confidence. Wendy?
So I second that with Carolyn. I totally have faith that if you want to do it, I'm a little confused because are you saying that you and Wade would come up and you'd figure it out and then you'd send it? Is that the plan? You'd figure it out together and then you'd send it to the mayor.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There could be an extra step, which is before sending it to the mayor and the newspaper and the council, we send it just to the commission for approval. We can fast track it if you want to grant approval in advance. But that's really up to everyone's conscience.
I would go for approval and I'd love to see it. But the thing is that if you're going for, I'd go for pre-approval. If we need commission approval, then we have to have 48 hours in advance for us to decide that it's okay and we need a quorum. So I'm fine to say I trust you and I would love to see it before it actually goes out.
Okay. Empress, any thoughts from you on this? You're 20% of the council.
I'm in total agreement. I believe, you and Win will be able to construct, but I would also like you said, I would also like to see the draft as well. To see its wording and how it's wording. And then from there, just go forward.
Okay, so let me try to consolidate this into a motion. That the Human Rights Commission asks the chair and the clerk to come together, hopefully in the next 24 hours, that's codified in parentheses, to draft a letter that would be sent to the mayor and CC'd to the Greenfield Recorder and the Greenfield City Council based on our, based on our belief, based on the facts of the court case and what we believe going forward. I'm sorry that I'm not wordsmithing at 8:05 at night, but that's the best I can do.
I second that motion.
Okay, there's a second. Any discussion? Okay, so let's vote on this. Was that a hand for discussion?
No, I was just gonna say, I'll get these typed up tonight and get them to you, Daniel, so that saves time.
All right.
I will type them up tonight and get them to you and send them to the entire council tonight, so everybody has at least the draft of the minutes, and then they'll see what we're gonna be working through as a first draft.
Excellent, and I will commit to getting the letter out to everyone, but I'm also hearing that I can send it at the same time, if this is correct. I can send it at the same time to the other 3 parties. Is that accurate? Yeah, okay. So that's how we'll do it. With you and I can conference tomorrow if we need to, if that's possible by phone. And I think there was someone in chat who asked if the public could see this as well. Not sure how to do that. Does anyone have any suggestions about that so that the community can see this? I suppose it will be in the Greenfield Recorder, but that doesn't give it to everyone because not everyone subscribes to or purchases the recorder. So I don't really, Wendy, you have an idea?
I'm realizing with you, there's that Greenfield page on Facebook that you've talked about. And I've also seen Rachel Gordon had put in a whole bunch of stuff on this. I don't, there's a Greenfield Facebook social media thing that we could put it on.
Well, there's different Greenfield pages. There's the city page, but I'm not sure if they want to put it up. But there's various Facebook pages with administrators that would put it up if they saw it. I'm not sure if I want to do that as a commissioner, because then it's just adding fuel to the fire. But if someone gets a bootleg copy and wants to post it, there's nothing we can do about that.
Okay, and somebody put in the chat, Franklin County Now, I guess, is a free news source.
Yes, that's a news service.
Can that be sent to them as well?
Yes.
There's also a Citizens for Transparency page I just read. I mean, this, I guess we'll just go on and on when we get to Jesse.
Stevens, all those Facebook pages are public pages run by administrators. I'm not sure if you want to get stuck into that. If people want to post that stuff, if they get a copy of the letter, that's fine. But I don't think the HRC should get involved in promoting our work outside of legitimate news sources.
Okay, well, we can wrestle with that. I do agree, though, that we should try to make this within reason as public as possible. We have nothing to be transparent about. I mean, nothing to be secret about. There's every reason to want to be transparent, but there's a lot of work involved trying to get it to everyone. Yeah.
I'm just thinking about the city's office reaction. Sending it out to legitimate news sources and the city council, I think is legitimate. If we start promoting it with Facebook pages, that just feels like we're doing too much to undercut the mayor's office. Again, once the letter gets out, if people want to post it on various Facebook pages, that's fine, but it's not coming from us.
Okay. Thank you, Wid. Wendy, a thought on that?
So one other thought that I have is if the commissioners have a copy of this once it's published, if we send it out to whatever list of people we have, and then people can see it. I know that Sandra Boston sent something out for me today announcing this meeting, and then it just circulates. So it's another way we might be able to get people aware if we send it out to some of our lists.
That would be up to each of us. Yep. Thank you. Whit?
Yeah, that was my point. The commissioners, as individuals, can do what they want. I'm just concerned as the HRC as a body doing stuff that could be interpreted as, a little bit weird.
Okay. So maybe we can be in agreement on that once the letter goes to you all, it will also at the same time go to the mayor and the Greenfield recorder. And I don't know if there's a city council site that we can send it to. I suppose there is. I don't know what it is, as opposed to all 13 of them.
Just
Wendy?
a point of order, Daniel, just curious. Are you going to send out the draft to us before you actually send it to the mayor, or is it all going out at the same time?
Well, that's a discussion. The question is, I can send it to everyone at the same time, but I don't want us to have to reconvene about it. Right?
I agree.
Because that's going to take the open meeting law and announcement, and it's going to cause us another week. So I'd like to get I thought I had the agreement in advance, but that means that it has to go at the same time.
Well, does it? I thought that so this was what I thought was going to happen was you guys were going to do your draft.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say it's done at 6 o'clock tomorrow. You send it to us and then you send it out tomorrow's Tuesday, Wednesday morning, just so that we have a chance to look at it. If you still are, yes, go do it, but just that, I thought that's what we were doing. I don't care. I trust you. I just,
No, I think that's fine. I just wanted to say a shout out to Sheila Gilmore for giving me the city council email address, and that's very helpful. Thank you, Sheila. We can do it both ways. I'll send it to the commissioners in advance and then hold it for a while. If anyone has anything egregious, pop it back to me quickly. I'll send it out Wednesday morning to those particular sites. Is that agreeable to folks? Okay. All right.
It is
Well,
to me, and thank you. And it's not a trust thing. It's just
No.
a game of telephone. Thank you.
It's better to play it safely and clearly. Yeah, Wade?
Well, there's a motion on the table we haven't voted for yet, so we need to vote on the motion that you made, Daniel.
Could you read it out again, please, Wade, to the extent that you have it?
The motion made by Daniel was that the Human Rights Commission asks the chair and the clerk within the next 24 hours or so to draft a letter to the mayor with copy to the Greenfield Recorder and the city council based on the facts of the court case and what we believe to be the truth.
Okay, so that's the motion. We've had discussion. I'm going to bring it to a vote. All in favor, just raise a hand. That's the easiest way. Okay, no abstentions, no opposition. The motion passes unanimously, and we have a quorum and a majority, so we will act on that basis. I think at this point, I mean, we've been going at this for about 2.25 hours, but I want to bring back, if commissioners can handle this, if there's any public comments on the process that you've witnessed and the product that will be made available. Does anyone, I want to open it up if anyone has anything to say about that. Put a hand up if you're visual, or if you can put it up on your screen by your name, and we'll acknowledge you, and then we'll close the meeting. Is there anyone who would like to make a statement that based on what you've just heard and seen? Okay, yeah, Whit. And Whit.
Well, I take the silence as support and congratulations, and that they're with us, because otherwise people would be saying, "What the hell are you talking about?" So I trust that we're doing a good job.
I certainly hope so. It's rare that a commission gets this kind of public action. So Karen, I saw your hand come up, and then Wendy. So Karen, yes, please.
No, I was trying to put thumbs up and.
Oh, thumbs up, and
Hand
it
up by
came as a
mistake.
hand. Okay, excellent. Okay, Wendy, comment?
I was going to thank everybody for being here and make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion has been made to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we've got 2 seconds. Okay, thank you. So all in favor? Oh, is there any discussion about closing the meeting? I didn't think so. Okay, all in favor of closing the meeting, please signify by raising your hand. It's unanimous. This meeting of the Human Rights Commission on Monday, the 23rd of May is concluded at 8:14 p.m. Thank you all for contributing and listening, and we'll move on from here. Be well and be safe.